In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a really easy ear warmer. It's just worked in rounds, working as tall or as wide as you want your ear warmer to be. We're going to create this little band here to pinch our sides together, and then we'll put on a flower, which is optional if you'd like to do that as well. For this project, I am using Ferris wheels by Lion Brand, and it is a 4-weight yarn, and this colorway is evergreen. So I also have a tutorial for a rectangle granny shell scarf using this very same yarn. This ear warmer is a wonderful little complementary accessory to that scarf. I'm also using a 5mm crochet hook, and you'll need scissors and a yarn needle to weave in your ends and sew on your band and flower. I have chained 66 for my foundation starting chain row. I've measured it around my head to make sure that it is snug but not too tight and not too loose. And all you want to do is slip stitch into that very first chain that we did. Now I always want to make sure that I'm not twisting this initial chain. So if you run your finger along it, you can kind of keep that chain straight, and then you would work all the way back, finding that very first chain and slip stitch. Once you have slip stitched to join, you should now have a ring. You can at this point also put this around your head to make sure that it is snug, not too loose, not too tight, just right. For the first round, we're going to chain 3. And into that very first stitch where we chained out of, we're going to work 2 double crochets together, yarn over, put your hook in that very same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go back through 2. We're going to do that one more time, yarn over in the very same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, back through 2. You should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull back through all 3. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the next 2 chains on our foundation chain. So make sure that there's not a hidden chain here. This is the chain that we were working into. So I'm going to skip 2, 1, 2, and in the next work 3 double crochet stitches together. So yarn over, skip 2, drop a loop, yarn over, pull back through 2. Yarn over in the same chain, drop a loop, yarn over, pull back through 2. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to do this one more time. Yarn over in that same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, back through 2, and yarn over, back through everything, and chain 1. And you're going to work this all the way around. So you're going to skip 2 and work 3 double crochets together in the next. Yarn over, back through everything, chain 1. And then just keep that, repeating that same pattern. Skip 2 and 3 double crochets together in the next, chain 1, skip 2, 3 double crochets together in the next. And I'll meet you back around. When you come back around, you want to make sure that your chain, this first row, is all straight and not twisted. So make sure that all of the foundation chain stitches are facing the same way and they haven't gotten twisted and turned as you've been working this row. Another hint If you have been working and you don't have 2 chains here for your space, don't worry about it. You can cheat this part. Sometimes my foundation chain stitches are so tight that I accidentally miss 1 or 2 along the way, and I just kind of have to cheat my way to make sure that I have the right number of stitches at the end, or whatever the pattern calls for. Some patterns it's really important. This pattern, it is not that important. Here's my 2 skipped chains. I've already chained 1. So to finish this round, we just want to work into the top of our chain 3 that we started this round with, and slip stitch to join. And there is round 1. For round 2, and this is just a 2-row repeat, and in fact you can work this pattern ending on either row 1 or 2. So for the second row, we're just going to slip stitch over to that space. So there should be 2 chains that we need to slip stitch through to get to this chain 1 space. Slip stitch into that chain 1 space, chain 3, and work a half double crochet right back into that space. And that chain 3 counts as a half double crochet, chain 1. We're going to skip to the next space, the next chain 1 space, and work a half double crochet V-stitch, which is a half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet right back into that same space. Skip to the next, work a half double crochet V-stitch right into that space. Skip to the next, half double crochet V-stitch, and you're just going to work this all the way around. Once you're back around, here's my last V-stitch. Here is the V-stitch that we worked to start. We are just going to work a slip stitch into the top of that chain 2, so in the top of the second chain that we did to start, and that will join that round. To continue on, you're just going to repeat those 2 rows. You always want to start in a chain 1 space, so I'm just going to slip stitch right into that chain 1 space, chain 3. For the first double crochet together that you do, you want to work 2 double crochet together. So there's 1, 2, I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull back through everything, chain 1. Find the next chain 1 space, so skip those spaces in between your V-stitches, find the next chain 1 in the V-stitch, and you work a 3 double crochet together. 1, 2, and 3. I have 4 loops now, pull back through everything and chain 1. Find the next V-stitch, do the same thing, 3 double crochet together. And you just work that around. You're always going to slip stitch into the top of the turning chain, I guess, but that first chain that you do for each round, you get sort of the granny shell style pattern, but you've got this nice little V-stitch that breaks up those double crochet rows. So keep working this until you get the width that you want for your Calypso ear warmer or headband, and then I will show you how to finish this up. Once you get back around and you've worked in the round for as tall as you want your ear warmer headband to be, you can go ahead and slip stitch to join the round, and you can fasten off at this point. You can finish on any round that you want. So if you're on the double crochet row, you can finish on that row. If you're on the half double crochet V-stitch row, you can certainly finish on that row as well. You just work until you have that total length that you want. So I always like to work a few rows, try it on, work a few more rows, try it on, just to see how I like the fit. But once you have that height that you want, you can go ahead, slip stitch to join, and just cut your yarn and fasten off. And you'll have a nice sort of granny style ear warmer headband. I just love how this pattern works up. It's really easy, and by working those 2 rows, one in the half double crochet V-stitch and one in the double crochet together rows, you really sort of work through this very quickly, and you don't get bored with it because you're alternating stitches all the time. So I've taken care of all of my ends, and this is a pretty flexible pattern. I'm also going to show you how to sort of crimp up this center here to make almost a little bow, which is also super cute. So to do that, grab your yarn and your same size hook. Now you can obviously use a different color of yarn if you want to make that little center pop. You can use the same yarn, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to start with a slip knot on my hook, and we're just using single crochets here. There's no stitch multiple for this. I'm just going to go ahead and chain 10 to start. I like to start by bunching the center, and you're only working on the one side, so just leave that back side flat. So just working on this side here. Find the middle and just pinch those middle rows together and bring down the top and just pinch that together, and bring up the bottom and just pinch that together. You can put a clip on this or whatever works if you want to keep this like it is as you're working the band that will go around it. So I'm just going to place this just to measure, and that's probably fine. Like I said, you can make this longer or shorter depending on how wide you want the width of that little band that will hold this in place. So working with our chain, I chained 10. I'm going to work in that first chain, away from the hook. I'm just going to work a single crochet and a single crochet into every chain all the way back down. Chain 1, turn, and do the same thing. We're just going to be working single crochets back and forth to create our little band. So I've gone ahead and single crocheted, maybe about 2.5, 3 inches, maybe more, and I've measured it, so it doesn't really matter how long, but you do want it to be nice and tight and snug. So once you get the length that you need and that you're happy with as you're pinching that together and measuring it around, you can fasten off. I like to leave a long tail on this end so I can just use that to sew up my ends. So I'm just going to thread up that long tail. You can just use a regular yarn needle for this. And once you have your yarn needle threaded, what I'm going to do is start like this. So this is my beginning. I'm going to put it around that side. I've got my headband cinched up, pinched together nicely. I'm just going to wrap this around, and it's going to be a little tight, it's going to be a little awkward, and all you want to do is sew this up. Now, if you don't want this seam showing, if you want it on the other side, which is what I recommend, So instead of sewing it like this, you would place this part on top so it is in the front here, and then flip your work over and just sew the two sides together. And then you'll have these crimped portions, these pinched portions on the front. So here is what the ear warmer looks like with that little wrap around it to kind of cinch up those sides and give it a little bit of style. Now, if you want to go even further, you can create a small applique to put and sew right in the middle of this little ring that holds our earband, cinches it up, and I'll show you how to do that. So just a very simple flower. So we're just going to make a very simple flower. I'm going to start with a magic ring. I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to work 12 single crochets right into that ring. Once you have 12 single crochets, you can go ahead, pull your tail to close up that ring and slip stitch to that first single crochet that you did, and that will join. We're going to chain 4, and into that same stitch where we just chained out of, I'm going to yarn over twice. I'm going to work half a treble, so pull up a loop, yarn over, back through 2. I'm going to yarn over, go in that same stitch, pull up a loop, back through 2, yarn over, go in that same stitch, back through 2. You should now have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull back through all 5, chain 4, and in that same stitch, slip stitch. Into the next stitch, we're just going to work a slip stitch. Now we're going to chain 4, and we're going to work the petal again. So yarn over twice in that same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, back through 2, yarn over into the same stitch, pull up a loop, back through 2, yarn over, back through 2. Once you have 5 loops on your hook, you can now yarn over and pull back through everything, chain 4, and slip stitch in that same stitch, and you've got another petal. So keep working that pattern all the way around, and we'll finish up our flower. Once you have worked all of the petals, and you should have 12, I know it gets a little bit tight and you run out of a little bit of room at the end. So if you only have 10 or 11 petals, who's gonna know? So I'm gonna go ahead and just slip stitch right back into that first stitch, that first chain. That's just optional. I just like to do that just to kind of finish around. You can cut your yarn now, and I left a little bit of a tail, so I can go ahead and sew it right on to the top of my ear warmer. Now you can always put it off to the side. You can really do whatever you want. It's your project after all. So I'm going to go ahead and put my little flower on, and then I'll have a little ear warmer. And there it is. I just love how the flower ties everything together. I used the same yarn, but again, you can use a different yarn if you want sort of an accent or a complementary color. Endless possibilities. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming crochet, knitting, Tunisian crochet, and other fiber art content. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Until next time, happy crocheting. Bye!